Hello, everybody. Welcome to CNCF Jalandhar chapter. Today is going to be our introduction session. Uh, we will be mostly covering about what exactly CNCF is and how do you navigate through things, and what are the goals of this channel in the upcoming days. What can you expect? And I feel, especially for beginners, this could be a great start for you. Yeah. So it's going to be a great start for beginners because you're going to learn a lot of new things, especially about cloud native technologies with some of the amazing folks in the cloud native space. So we have a bunch of our panelists here. Before that, I would like to introduce myself. I am an information science engineering student, and I'm currently interning at Barclays. In my free time, I try to contribute to open source. Last summer, I contributed to an open source organization to help developers automate their API documentation process. Apart from that, I write blogs on Hashnode, and I'm currently exploring public speaking. So I host spaces with some of the amazing folks in the industry. Yep, that's about me. And diversity, equity, and inclusion is something very close to me. So I like to take on coffee chats with folks who want to break into tech. So yeah, that's about me. We have our wonderful panelists. I'm gonna introduce them all to you. So yeah, great. I think you'll all be able to see our amazing panelists here. So let's start off with our organizer of CNCF Jalandhar, Nitish.
Hello everyone, my name is Nitish and I'm one of the co-organizers for the CNCF Jalandhar. We generally do not say organizers because we eventually believe that in CNCF that every single part of the team member is an organizer. So we have a general term called as co-organizers for each one of us. Um, I have been a Linux Foundation mentee with Kubernetes in the past. I'm also one of the CNCF ambassadors, and I'm pretty excited to be on this first session for the CNCF Jalandhar. So looking forward to have an interactive session with all of you. Having said that, I would like to pass the mic to I think Kunal next.
Sure, cool. Hey everyone, I hope you are able to hear me clearly. Pretty excited for this one, and thanks to everyone here for allowing me to be a part of this amazing event and to be a part of the CNCF Jalandhar team. Hey everyone, my name is Kunal. I am working as a DevRel at Cube Simplify, and at Cube Simplify, we are simplifying the cloud native and WebAssembly and platform engineering, generative AI, all that amazing ecosystems for you all by creating quality resources, blogs, videos, live streams. Feel free to check us out. You can follow me on my Twitter right here if you want to know more about me. But yeah, I'm also CNCF ambassador, by the way. I always forget to mention this, but I've been involved in the CNCF cloud native ecosystem for a while now. If you don't know about cloud native CNCF, that's what we'll be covering in today's stream and today's panel discussion. But yeah, feel free to reach me out if you have any doubts on how to get started in open source, cloud native, CNCF, and all that amazing stuff, because it's just amazing to get involved. I mean, I think everyone here would agree with me on this particular point. And yeah, that's a little bit about me. Faika would like to go next.
Um, yeah, hi everyone. I'm Faika, and it's an honor to be here with all of you today at CNCF Jalandhar's stream meetup. So, I just completed my third year of college, and I've been very passionate about technology since first year. So, I have had the incredible opportunity to dive into the world of cloud native technologies, and it has been a transformative journey. So today I'm very excited to share with you all a lot of things about cloud native and how it is becoming so essential for all the modern developers out there. About myself, I am also a CNCF ambassador, and I have also worked a lot in open source projects like Kubernetes, HTTP, Istio, and several others. So yes, thank you so much for the opportunity, Krish, and
Yep, we have Yash next. Yep,
Hey
go ahead.
everyone, I'm Yash. Hey everyone, I'm Yash. I'm a second year student at IB University, and I am a co-organizer at CNCF Jalandhar and also organizer, one of the organizer at Fossil United Delhi. Most of the time, you will find me doing like hackathons and all, and also I love to read like history. And so yeah, that's a mini brief about me. Thanks for joining us.
That was a wonderful introduction by our folks. So now you would have heard the term CNCF at least 10 times. So let's learn about what exactly CNCF is. So Kunal, do you want to run us through what CNCF is and everything about it?
Okay, putting the spotlight on me. That's interesting. Cool. So I think before understanding what CNCF is, right, let's understand about Linux Foundation, right? The Linux Foundation, because that came first. So I'll not take much time. I'll go over through this quickly. So the Linux Foundation is a non-profit organization which was, established in 2000. By non-profit, I mean that all the money and everything, the funds are reinvested into, these particular projects, right? So it was established in 2000, and the main purpose of the Linux Foundation was to advocate for Linux in various sectors, right? Because Linux was at that particular time pretty new, right? If you know what year Linux was invented, what year it was created, you can drop it in the comment. Don't search on Google, that's cheating. But Linux was fairly new at that particular time, and that's why the Linux Foundation was created to help support the use of Linux in different sectors, in different industries, right? So the main purpose of the Linux Foundation was to bring together developers, users, and to sort of collaborate with open source projects out there related to Linux, and to create best practices of open source software development, right? Currently, if we talk about Linux Foundation, apart from providing resources to projects, they also offer education resources and certifications for you all. So if you have been around in the ecosystem, you would have definitely heard of CKA, Certified Kubernetes Administrator Exam, KCNA, Kubernetes and Cloud Native Associate. So these are all famous certifications that you can do, that there are tests for that, and the badges that you get after passing those, you can showcase on your profile, and it basically shows that you have knowledge of these technologies, right? But one important goal of the Linux Foundation was that it provided resources, it wanted to provide resources and govern open source projects that were beyond Linux, right? So initially the aim was Linux, right? But it needed to go beyond Linux. So, and that's how CNCF was born, right? So CNCF is Cloud Native Computing Foundation. If you haven't guessed it already, you can check out cncf.io. It's the website, and we can drop a link in the comments as well. But this is an organization which is under the Linux Foundation. This was started under the Linux Foundation, and again here the main aim was to support open source projects, but with specifically towards the projects who are advocating towards the container technology, right? Because this was formed in 2015, by the way, and at that particular time, Docker, if you know, Docker was launched in 2013, so it was relatively new, and the term container technology or containerization was relatively new at that particular time, right? So the CNCA was formed in order for everyone to first teach what does container technology mean and how can we implement them in different industries, and to support the open source projects that are related to that, right? Container technology was one, and other was the cloud native technology. So this was a very new term that was coined at that particular time. Now you will ask, okay, Kunal, I mean, what does cloud native computing even mean, and what is cloud native technology? I'm not going to go into the depth here. We'll cover this in the future section. But yeah, this is an important point to mention here. And the lastly, I just want to mention that CNCF is an organization which focuses on cloud native technologies. It has over like 200 plus projects, and it operates under the Linux Foundation. So I think that provides a nice overview for everyone who is just hearing it for the first time.
Yeah, that was a really good summary for what exactly CNCF is. Apart from that, what I really liked is the history that you mentioned. What was the goal of CNCF? I think for every project, before diving into learning the technology, understanding what is the motive for the technology, why was it even created, is a very good way to start off learning things. So I really like that point that you covered. Next, since you mentioned so much about cloud native technology, so what exactly cloud native technologies is? Faika, do you want to go? Or Nitish? Anybody?
Uh, yeah, I think I can catch up with that. So,
Yeah.
um, I will start with simply with how cloud native technology come, what exactly it is, but to build up the curiosity. So, for me, let's say It started with a simple curiosity because obviously I was so new to the college. Like any college student would not have a direct implementation of the cloud native technology, to be very specific about this. So there was a simple curiosity amongst us students that about how modern applications are built and scaled. Everyone can have this type of curiosity, right? And this is what leads you to actually exploring things which goes cloud native. So when I first delved into what cloud native technologies were, I was very overwhelmed by the sheer complexity and the vast arrays of tools that are available out there. And what is cloud native, what is cloud native computing foundation, everything for me was pretty vague. And how we started was basically seeing the community. But since Kunal has explained very well what is CNCF, cloud native as a sentence in technical terms, it is your approach to build and to run your applications, which can basically leverage the advantages of cloud computing overall. So when we say cloud native, it basically involves everything from designing the application as a collection of small and independent services like microservices. So all of these are like packaged into containers. And then these containers together can run consistently across different environment. And this is what makes the whole cloud native application thing, which is managed by orchestration tools like Kubernetes and which handles the deployment, scaling, and networking, all of these things automatically. So all of these things comes under cloud native technology, and the development process, which is streamlined through the practices like CI/CD and infrastructure as code, are the other subsets of all of these things. So I think that pretty much answers what is cloud native technology. And Varsha, do you want me to cover the benefits of cloud native technology or?
Yeah, yeah, we'll go ahead next. But before that, I want to ask the other panelists if they have anything to add to the same question.
Yeah, I think Faika did a really great thing of explaining what exactly is cloud native technology. I just want to give a nice analogy for a beginner to understand, right? So there are two things, right? One is cloud and one is cloud native, right? So cloud, when we talk about any application on cloud, so understand this. For example, you have a project, right? You made it locally, and now you migrated your entire infrastructure and your backend onto the cloud, and the cloud can be AWS, GCP, and all that stuff. So the entire infrastructure, you are not managing it. The company that onto which you have deployed it, that is managing. So that is cloud. Cloud native is a project or a product that was made to be in the cloud at the very first in the very first place, right? So that is why the word native comes into the picture, cloud native. So from the very start, you need to focus on different areas of the projects as if it was already deployed on the cloud, right? So that is a very simple analogy that you can you can sort of it sort of will help you to differentiate between what is cloud and what is cloud native. It's very new, and I hope this sort of clears a picture a bit more.
Yeah, I actually want to mention one thing more. I think when Kunal was giving a presentation about a little bit introduction about what exactly is CNCF, I just want to add into that. So you all might have heard of Linux Foundation as well, and the events that Linux Foundation generally conducts, and you might have heard of KubeCon as well. So a lot of times people generally get confused about what exactly is Linux Foundation versus what exactly is Cloud Native Computing Foundation. So just want to give you a brief overview that you can consider Linux Foundation as uh, the foundation of foundations. So in the hierarchy, Linux Foundation stands at the very top, and Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which we call as CNCF, it is a sub foundation of the Linux Foundation. So that's like the hierarchy. You have the Linux Foundation at the top, and under the Linux Foundation, you have one foundation which we call as CNCF, or Cloud Native Computing Foundation. Obviously, there are other foundations as well, which you generally can explore as well. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. Over to you, Varsha.
Great. All of the answers were really insightful. I'm sure it would be insightful for our viewers as well. Going on to the next question. This is to Faika. What do you think are the advantages of learning or cloud native technologies?
Okay. So talking of the benefits, to be specific, for learning cloud native technologies and why are they important is something I could start covering from. So the advantages of learning cloud native technologies, not just as a student but as a professional itself, is that they first thing, it's very easy to it makes scaling very much easier. So cloud native apps can grow or shrink easily based on the demand, right? So imagine you have an application which is getting popular overnight, and with cloud native technology, you can just handle all of those extra users without any hassle. And let's assume that the next night it doesn't have any user. So with cloud native technology, you can handle all of these different scenarios. That makes scaling very much easy. Then other benefit of cloud native technology that we've studied so far is like the speed and automation that it adds to your technology, to your application. So you can automate so many tasks like deploying updates, like which means you can move fast, you can fix issues very much quickly, and you can always have so many latest features available for your users. So that is one of the other benefits, and it adds into the reliability. It also adds into the learning and collaboration and all of the other things. There is also a lot of importance of cloud native technology for developers like us and for businesses, that we are able to see how famous cloud native is right now. This entire bubble is trending right now in the whole world, and there was some time we could not even imagine, like 10 years ago, that every single thing that you are using today, uske piche, like behind it, there's Kubernetes involved. So just like that, cloud native is a big industry trend which is growing vast, and there is a reason, obviously. So the tech industry is like moving towards cloud solutions, and having a skill in cloud native for a student is like a very valuable asset. So it doesn't only opens job opportunities for us, but it also lets you work on the latest and the greatest projects that are coming up. So anything that you use, like the credit card, or if you're driving, the website that you use, or anything, like most of the things have Kubernetes running in their backend. Just like you see a simple CrowdStrike outage that you know of, that caused so many different things like ATMs and airlines to stop functioning. Just like that, Kubernetes is behind almost everything. And that is the impact of cloud native technology in our industry. So when you as a student are learning these skills, this will be a really valuable asset for you when you go out and search for job opportunities, because you have this skill set and you are working on something which is one of the latest in their field. And this was for student, but for businesses also, like using cloud native technology in itself means saving time and money. So why I mean that is because businesses can like quickly adapt to the changes. If somebody already knows about Kubernetes, like it allows you to have deployments, it allows you to have so many version updates so much quickly, so much automated and stuff. So it offers you better services to customers and helps you to stay ahead of the competitors and all of these things. You also know for a fact that in several other countries and also in India, we have such slow functioning websites, and the reason behind it is because they're not adapted to cloud native technology. So that is one of the things which make cloud native so famous in businesses and as well. And in conclusion, yeah, learning cloud native is a game changer for me, and it is a game changer for everyone else who is a student, will be one as well. So it offers a lot of skills, opportunities, and yeah, I think it pretty much adds a lot of value to the businesses as well. So it is always embracing the cloud native principle that we can build amazing and adaptable applications. I hope that answered the question.
Well, I really like how you summed it up. You covered everything. And I really liked how you included the real life application so that everybody who, even a person who's not into CNCF cloud native technologies, then they were able to relate to things. So I think that was a good, not just information, but also a motive. So thank you for that, Faika. Since Faika was covering about the advantages of learning cloud native technologies, I want to ask this question, wherein how can one navigate through the CNCF landscape? Because initially it could be very overwhelming for somebody who is just starting out. So how does one navigate through it, and what are the tips you have for beginners? Yes, Kunal, Nitish, both of you.
Yeah, I think I can start this one, and we'll also have Nitish. So let me just share my screen. I'll share a few interesting points here. So I hope you're able to see my screen. Okay. Yeah, I think it's big enough. Let us know in the comments if it's big enough. But okay, navigating the CNCF landscape, or how to get started. That's a very wide question, to be honest, and that is where people get stuck right? I think the very first thing you should do if you are new to CNCF is check out landscape.cncf.io, right? I know I'll just share the link in the comments as well. I know this site will look very overwhelming to you all. This is called the overwhelming landscape if you have been involved in the ecosystem for a while, if you have been involved in the community. But essentially, this gives you all the list of the projects that are involved in the CNCF, that are under the CNCF. These are open source projects. Plus, we also have proprietary products. Proprietary products means the companies which use these CNCF projects, right, in their organization. So that is what the CNCF landscape is all about. And the purpose of the CNCF landscape is to sort of divide these particular projects into different sections, right, according to what they do and what area of cloud native technology they are concerned with, right? So just head over to this website and head over to this guide button. Right now, I think you are at a very lucky stage, right, if you want to get involved in, you want to understand what is CNCF and what is CNCF landscape, because this particular page that you're looking right now, this was updated very recently, right? So now the community has created a guide for you all to navigate the entire landscape, right? So this is a guide where you can just understand what exactly is the cloud native landscape, right? Which is, the goal is to compile and organize all the cloud native projects. I hope the text is visible to you all. Yeah, the goal is to organize all the cloud native projects and providing overview of the entire ecosystem. And you can basically use this guide to understand all of the different areas actually, right? So if you are new to cloud native technology, you can use this guide to understand what are the different areas the cloud native technology, the big term, is divided into, right? So we have provisioning, which is sort of the very first layer in cloud native. It basically tells you what exactly is provisioning, what are the problem it solves, and then this particular guide gives you all the projects which are under the CNCF, which are a part of CNCF, and is under the provisioning category, right? So that's super cool, right? This was not something that existed a few. I think this was updated last year. I'm not sure about this, but you can just click on any project and you can see the stats, see the numbers. You can directly visit their socials, directly visit their website, and that this is a really great way for you to just get a bird's eye view into what is CNCF and what are the different projects. You can definitely check it out. This is the guide that is made for you, right? The community has made for you. Now, when you have got the overview, right, so this is the first thing that you have to do. Head over to landscape.cncf.io. I think the link has been dropped into the comment section. Head over to this site, just read this particular guide, just get to know what are the different areas. Don't think about getting involved right now. Don't think about getting involved in any project. Just get a nice overview, right, of what is cloud native, right, and what are the different areas. The next step would be, once you have that particular overview, the next step would be getting involved into a certain project, right? And one way is you can just skim through the ideas, and let's say I'm skimming through these ideas, I found a particular idea interesting, right? Let's say I open this project, I read this and I find this interesting. I mean, I don't understand it. What is open policy agent? I don't know, but I find it interesting, right? The word sounds interesting to me. I can just head over to their website or their Slack or their LinkedIn channel. This is their website, Open Policy Agent. I can just skim through and I can just see, okay, this is a cool product. Let me just get involved. You can just head over to their communication channel, and that's how you get started. This is a very beginner way of getting started. This is how now I would recommend. If you have asked this particular question, I mean, 1 year back, I would have told you a different method, but I feel that this is sort of a very structured way of getting involved. Now, after this is, getting actively involved with the project that you have chosen, right? So for that, Nitish would like to share your points on how you, because I know you have been involved in so many different projects. You have been Linux Foundation mentee as well. If you don't know about this, maybe you can just mention what is Linux Foundation mentee means, and then maybe you can guide people on how to get involved in one particular project. Let's say I've chosen Open Policy Agent, let's say, right? So maybe you can cover that point now.
Sure. Thanks, Kunal, for that. I'll just share the screen. All right. I think let's get started then. So you mentioned about the Open Policy Agent. I think that's a really good project. But just want to give you a very basic overhead that every project under CNCF that Kunal has just mentioned about. So these have been under certain categories. And if you go to this link, like cncf.io/projects, you'll see that generally these categories have been graduated and incubating projects. So every time, whenever you have a certain project that gets accepted into CNCF, it has to go through certain number of phases, or what I can say, something like the levels, right? And your basic level is something which we call as sandbox project. Once your project has been in the sandbox project, it will move to the incubating stage, which we, as you can see, we have incubating projects mentioned here. And then once that project has gone more, it will move eventually to the graduated projects. Now, this is basically about the number of projects that is present under the CNCF landscape. But now, if you see, there have been bunch of projects here, and now Kunal just picked the Open Policy Agent, or which we generally call as OPA as well. How do you get involved in a certain project? I have opened certain graduated projects, because graduated projects have a, what I can say, they have a certain way in order to get involved within the communities. So imagine you take an example for the Kubernetes project, which is a pretty famous project, and it's a CNCF graduated project. Or you can take an example of Argo project, which is again a CNCF graduated project. How do I know if it's a CNCF graduated project? So you can already see that in the graduated projects, Argo has been mentioned here, and if you go down, Kubernetes have already mentioned it here. So these are like some of the important projects that are under the CNCF graduation stage. Now the question comes is, how do you get involved within a certain project? I'm just giving an example here, taking the example of Kubernetes, but these generally apply to most of the open source projects that even lie outside your open source areas. So specifically, if I talk about the CNCF projects, if you see that the first important thing that you notice here, that the top languages that have been used is basically Go, and then it comes to shell scripting, and then it comes to Python. If I go to some other project, such as Argo project, you can see that the top language that has been used is Go and Shell and or Python then later on. And then TypeScript, basically TypeScript if you're using basically for the UI stuff, right? Uh, how do you get involved is, the first thing is, try to get a basic overview of what is the problem that this project is eventually trying to solve. For example, try to understand what the Kubernetes project is in general, what is the problem it's trying to solve. I'm not saying you to get involved into it. Once you know, okay, this is a problem that this certain project is trying to solve, try to go to the GitHub and see what are your chances of trying to contribute to this project. Now you can see that there are a bunch of repositories here, which is around like 78 repositories. So if you want to get involved in the Kubernetes project example, you can always head over to the community, something like that. That is obviously giving you information around what are like how the Kubernetes community actually works. So obviously go through the README files, try to see what is a specific SIG that you would like to get involved into. So SIGs are nothing. SIGs are just like the special interest group that are working on a specific area inside a project, right? And this is not just limited to the Kubernetes project. Inside your Argo project, you also have certain SIGs as mentioned. Cool. Once you have got to know, okay, this is something that quite interests me as well, your basically next task is to, as Kunal mentioned previously, join the community list, join the Slack channel, and try to see what people are eventually having a discussion around. Try to join their meetings as well. Chances are very high that you might not be able to understand anything what they're speaking about, but that's completely fine, I think. Try to stick to the meetings and see if you can find something to work upon, even if it's very minor, because over the longer period of time, these small things will eventually result into a bigger effort. So another thing, you also need to make sure that if you're contributing to any project, what are your expectations, or what is something that you are pretty much interested in? Is it something that you're interested in, um, non-code contributions? Then try to contribute mostly in the doc stuff, or maybe by writing blogs to the projects. Is it something that you're particularly interested in, say something like the coding projects, or not the coding project but the coding area? If you are interested in that, definitely learn the language that the project has been written in. For example, here it is Go, and most of the CNCF projects have been written in Go. So it's always prefer that we learn the Go programming language in order to get started with contributing to a certain project if we are targeting the code contributions. That being said, we have certain resources for you all that we would highly recommend you following as well. For example, if you can see in the Cube Simplify, they have I think a big shout out to Sayam Pathak as well. So he has made an entirely Cube Simplify workshops as well, which is entirely hands-on. So as I mentioned, the first step is basically trying to understand what the particular problem the Kubernetes project is trying to solve here. So how do you know what are the things I need to learn prior to Kubernetes, right? There are always some prerequisites to that. So obviously try to take some courses, try to do some hands-on approach. And then, for example, this is one of the resources that I have generally found quite interesting. And you can obviously take a look at that as well, which is, teaches you about containers, Linux, and then it moves you to the, Kubernetes and things like that. Apart from that, there's certain one more repository that is basically by Tims on these are generally the beginner resources for learning Kubernetes. But again, these are not something that is restricted to only Kubernetes. If you have any doubts, or if you get stuck somewhere, or if you feel like I want to learn more something around it, the community is always helpful. And I think the best way to get started with is actually trying to contribute while you're learning about the project. And you'll never get perfect into it, to be honest, because these projects have been like really so far. And obviously try to contribute a little by little, day by day, by learning the project side by side. So that's what I would mention on how can you get involved. And these things again are around OPA as well. Now Kunal mentioned about the Open Policy Agent project. These are the same things that you generally need to follow for any project, whether it lies under the CNCF landscape or not. So yeah, let me know if you have any doubts in the comment section, and would be happy to answer your queries around that. Um, Over to you, Varsha.
Yep, I really like how precise, concise, and simple the steps were both that was covered by both Nitish and Kunal. I mean, it could be very helpful, especially for beginners, because it was very simple. I hope the viewers have made some notes. Going on to the next question, uh, is CNCF for students? Yep, Yash, since you are a lot into this
Yeah.
community work, maybe you would want to answer this.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning Varsha. I would like to mention few things. One of the most confusing question around like the CNCF community is like student also always confused like is CNCF for like a student, and the answer is yes. It's absolute yes. The CNCF offers some various programs, resources, a student interested in cloud native technologies. They provide mentoring, internship, and student friendly, of course, student friendly events. So yeah, some mentorship programs are LFX mentorship and GSOC, where you will get mentored by the experienced professional in the open source community. And I would like to go through this mentorship thing. This is the mentoring repo in the CNCF GitHub, where you can find the resources, which is where you can go through the each of the things. First of all, the resources. If you are a mentee, you get if you want to get started with it, you can like read all the things, how to become a mentee and mentee expectations, support networks, and all these kind of things. And if you want to participate in one of the like LFX mentorship program or like Google Summer of Code, you can generally join the communication channels, which is on the GNCF Slack community and the discussion board or email list forums. So yeah, these are the things you can like. You should go through all of these points to get started in CFC community. Like, and the next question for me is like, uh, how can a student get actually involved in this? So yeah, first point is participating in open source project, of course, where you can like contribute to the CNCF hosted projects, or maybe get started with the open source code contribution or documentation part. uh, uh, you can look up for the issues that are tagged with good for issue or help mounted for the beginners, of course. And the second thing is a special interest group or called six or community calls. Community calls. Participate in six groups for focused on which are focused on specific areas like security, storage, docs, observability, etc. It is a great way to like get started in a particular area. And of course the weekly community call if you are interested in a particular project. So yeah, the third thing is event and conferences. A student can join CNCF events like KubeCon, KCDs, and community and like community groups, like CNCF Jalandhar and New Delhi to network and learn from the experts. And the fourth one is like engage in the social networks, social medias and forums like CNCF Slack channels and the GitHub Slack and all. So yeah, thank you. Over to you, uh, Varsha.
Yes, I really liked how you covered the points in the student's point of view. This is something about my own experience. Me as a student as well, I have benefited a lot from mentorship programs. Not just programs, even there in the open source community, there are very amazing people who are super duper helpful. They would be very happy to help you in case you have any doubts or anything. You can always reach out to them. Apart from that, speaking about conferences, I live in Bangalore. I get to go a lot of conferences, not just in Bangalore. Any city you go, you will have a lot of conferences, and the key takeaways from these conferences have benefited a lot in my career as a whole. So yeah, that's one thing I would want to highlight from Yash's point. Is does anybody has anything to add?
Yeah, I think Yash really covered it well. There are, see, one thing to mention here is that when we are talking about getting involved, right? And of course, the answer to is CNCF for students. That's absolutely yes. We all were students when we got involved, right? And I think it's an advantage when you get involved as student because you are early, right? Earlier than a lot of folks out there. So there are a lot of different ways. I think Yash has summed up a lot of different things. You have the Linux Foundation mentee program, Linux Foundation mentorship program, where you can contribute to a particular project under the CNCF. It's similar to GSOC, like Yash mentioned, right? You'll get paid. I mean, getting paid is, I would say, outcome of you contributing, but I think you should focus on learnings, right? Because you are getting a chance to contribute to a project that is being used by production, that is being used by companies out there, right? So that's a really big thing. And if you are doing that as a student, that would add a lot more shine to your resume, and your resume would be apart from the crowd, right? So one way is that, I think second way Yash also mentioned is conferences. So conferences are very close to me because that is from attending conferences. That's how I got involved into CNCF. I didn't know about CNCF at all. So I'll tell you a little bit backstory. This was at the time of COVID, right? And it was, I think, early 2020, right, or early 2021. I don't remember the year now, but KubeCon, which is one of the flagship events of the CNCF, right? KubeCon, it's very big, and it's in India right now. So it's in India. This is the very first time KubeCon is happening in India. It's like one of the biggest open source conferences out there, which CNCF conducts, and it's in December. It's in New Delhi. So if you're around in New Delhi at that particular time, I'll definitely recommend you to attend. I'll definitely be there, so would love to meet you all. But that's how I got started. It was the first time KubeCon was virtual, right? And it's originally an in-person event. Because of COVID, it was virtual, and it was free for students, right? So, and it's still free for students actually. So you can the tickets for KubeCon, if it's a virtual event, you can register on the particular website. We'll drop the link in the description as well, and in the comments right now. But that's how I got involved. I got to know about the impact that the cloud native technologies have in the ecosystem, and KubeCon was a really nice way for me to network and meet a lot of nice people. And oh my god, I fell in love with the community, to be honest. At that particular time, I fell in love with the people that were building these projects, these amazing communities. So conferences are a really great way for you to get involved, because in KubeCon we also have one category of students, specifically beginner session. So these particular sessions are tailored towards you. If you are a student, if you are a beginner, these sessions are for you. They just guide you to how to get started. You will find hundreds of sessions out there. We can also drop a link to the playlist of the previous KubeCons. But yeah, according to me, the number one way to get involved is through conferences, right? That's a really great way for you to just get started, and you don't have to do anything from your end. You just have to sign up, and you just have to attend that session. That's it, right? So it's pretty easy for you to get involved. But yeah, I think everyone has different ways, and everyone has their own story of how they got involved. I would love to know from other people here in the panel. Faika would like to go and tell about your experience and how you got involved, and maybe people can also learn from that.
Yeah, so it's all a journey of exploration that gets you in. So we were always exploring open source projects. I think being a campus expert itself, we had so much knowledge about open source projects, and CNCF has its big say in open source. So just like KubeCons, like you mentioned, there are open source summit and stuff. So Linux Foundation and Cloud Native Computing Foundation, all of its open source project has a big say, and that is something that interests students a lot. And there are so many mentorship programs with so many benefits for students. So it was one of the reasons for me to get involved as well, because it was all open source. And the best benefit of contributing to these open source projects is that you get invaluable mentorship. So by mentorship, I don't mean the paid mentorship. That's another thing. Unpaid mentorship by people who are working on industry level projects, like people with experience, people who are like working in the industry for tens and twenties of years. They are there to mentor you all for free. All you have to give is your time and effort to learn those things. And it's like a give and take, obviously. You contribute to the project grows, and then the mentors basically mentor you. So that's how you grow, your skills grow. So there was a lot of learning in open source. That's the biggest benefit of contributing to cloud native open source projects, in my opinion. Apart from that, how I got in is obviously the events and conferences. There's so much noise about KubeCons and so many fantastic people attending those events. So it creates a spark in you as well, that you want to go, you want to speak, you want that amazing experience, you want to experience it, because if everyone else is doing, why can't you? And there's so much of networking, learnings, and knowledge sharing going on in those events. So that is one of the big benefits for students and people like us. There are speaking opportunities. So these are so inclusive that they have tracks. They have tracks for beginners. They have tracks for experienced people, advanced tracks and stuff. So you're never left out. Even as a student, you can start from the beginner's track and you can submit yourself. If you have learned something, if you have discovered something, just present your idea, present your project at these conferences in the beginner track. So it is a great way for you to build your confidence, to build your network, to share your work, and to also get a feedback from your experts. So it's not about being the best at place, but always sharing your experiences that matters, and which you're able to do so. There are mentorship programs which everyone has covered already. There are workshops and meetups, and then there is a lot of community support that you get, and there are so many scholarships and grants for you in cloud native and in open source. And there is especially the career opportunities that comes from this. So I think all of these are the benefits that I saw and got in. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for that, Faika. Nitish, you have something to add?
Yeah, I was just saying that I think Kunal mentioned something about this stipend as well. So just a general suggestion that when you're contributing to these projects, do not even look for the stipend. To be very honest, it is fancy at some point of time, but I think when you are really curious about a project, money will be a byproduct and you will get it already. So do not focus much upon stipends. I have even seen a lot of YouTubers making video around, you get this much stipend around LFX, GSOC. So never fall for those trips. Otherwise, you won't sustain for a longer period of time. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. Over
Yeah,
to you,
yeah,
Yash.
huge plus one to that. Totally honest.
Wonderful. Then we've covered so many important topics, especially in a beginner's lens. I think with this session, maybe we would have folks who would start off today itself, because I think the action steps were clear from this webinar. Going on to the Q&As, do we have questions from the viewers? Okay. Any suggestions for a guy looking for an internship as a Go developer? Yes, who wants to take this question?
Um, I think I can go next if anyone of have you have any points, let me know that.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think the only some of the points that I have if you're looking for an internship is um, get yourself very familiar with topics around pretty famous topics around Go programming language, something around concurrency and things like that, race conditions. go routines, mutex, and things like that. So get yourself very familiar. I have actually written a thread around that, but I'm not promoting it. You can obviously take a look at later on time. Second thing, I think if you have really good work, or if you have really good projects that you have contributed or made, chances of you getting an internship around Go development are pretty high. Third thing, do not restrict yourself to again only one programming language. I understand that Go is something that is you're really curious about, but try to focus more studying around computer science, and you will realize that the problems that you will be getting in an interview will be around solving question that are eventually could be solved with the help of any programming language. But yeah, if you are targeting a Go developer, make sure you're very good with your basics as well as your advanced topics such as Go routines, concurrency patterns, producer consumer problem, things like that. That's what I have for you.
I think Nitish, you also shared, as far as I remember, you also shared a thread as well on your Twitter profile recently, mentioning some important questions, interview questions for a Go developer, right? So maybe you can also drop the link to that. I think that would be really helpful for the people as well to check out. And yeah, amazing answer on this particular question. Okay, I think next question I can take up. It is about what is Cube Simplify? Okay, and how can students get involved? It's an interesting one. So Cube Simplify is a community started by Sayam Patak. He's working as a platform advocate at Loft Labs right now, and he has more than a decade of experience in the industry, in the DevOps and cloud native industry to be specific. So at Cube Simplify, we are trying to simplifying the cloud native ecosystem by creating resources, be that blogs, videos. Nitish shared about Cube Simplify workshops, which are around, I mean, the minimum time of one workshop is 4 hours. You will find all the workshops beyond that particular point only. But the main aim for the main aim of those workshops was to introduce you to different important concepts and tools of the cloud native ecosystem, right? So we have started with the very basic, like Docker, Kubernetes, and then we have dwelled into all of the different aspects of the cloud native ecosystem and the cloud native technologies, right? So essentially, we are a community where we try to simplify these complex concepts for you all. I can just quickly drop the link to cubesimplify.com. You can check out the website. Be aware that the website is going under a revamp, so this is the old one. If you want to get involved in Cube Simplify, you can join the Discord channel. You'll find the link somewhere on the website. But if not, you can definitely reach out to me. I think my Twitter handle would be visible somewhere right here. Let me just, yeah, so, right here, yeah. So you can reach out to me here, and yeah, we can have a discussion and see how you can get involved. By the way, you don't have to be a student. Anyone can get involved at Cube Simplify, right? You can write a blog. You can just share about us on Twitter. We also host Twitter Spaces as well. We did one yesterday, which was all around how you can start creating content, right? So I'm just doing a shameless plug here, but you can check out the recording of that particular space. You can find that on the Twitter profile. But yeah, if you, even if you're not a student, you can get involved. These are some ways. If you just want to discuss, you can just reach out to me here, and we can have a discussion. I hope that answered your question.
I think Cube Simplify even has a very active WhatsApp. Uh, yep. So maybe you could join that as well. There are many folks who have discussions running around every day. So maybe you could look into them, and maybe you can have some new ideas out of those questions. Yep, that's about it. Like when starting, should we consider about our project being cloud native from the start, or should we incorporate cloud native things once our project starts to scale? This is our next question from Rachit.
Yeah, I think I can start with this, and then maybe others can add their points as well.
Yeah.
Really nice question, Rachit. Thank you so much for asking this. I think it depends on your goal, right? So let me just read it once. Should we consider our project being cloud native from the start, or should we incorporate cloud native things once our project starts to scale? Okay, so it depends on what level of learning are you in. If you are just getting started, so I like to share this really nice resource with you all. Maybe I can quickly share my screen. Just a quick one. Yeah, and I remove this. Yeah. So this is CNCF trail maps, right? Okay. Let me just do it. Whoops. Uh, uh, Let me just open this again. Yeah. So this is CNCF trail maps, and this resource, whoops, yeah, this particular resource was designed for companies to adopt cloud native technologies, right? For example, their tool or their project is not cloud native right now. So this particular sort of gives them a roadmap, gives them a way of what to do first, and then the step by step guide on how to make their project cloud native, right? So I mean, it depends on what are your goals. If you wanna, if your project is not cloud native, if your project does not support any cloud native technologies right now, this is the sort of roadmap that you can follow to convert it into a cloud native project, right? To convert it into a project that uses cloud native technology. So containerization, we have CI/CD, orchestration, all these different areas you can explore. But again, this totally depends on your goal, what you have. Right now, if we see, because CNCF has, because the tooling support of CNCF is very huge. The vendor support, the funding, and the support that the Linux Foundation and the CNCF gives to projects is very huge, especially to the cloud native projects. Companies are really trying their best to have the products to be cloud native from the starting itself, right? But because, yeah, again, I said it totally depends on your goal. But if you want to get, if you want to just understand how to go about migrating your project to being cloud native, this is how you do it. I can share the link to this CNCF trail maps in the comments. But if anyone wants to share their thoughts on this, they can definitely do so. I hope I made something clear here, even one thing as well. But yeah, if
Anyone
anyone
wants
wants to
to
take it.
add something,
Yeah.
or I just
I
want
think
to add
here. Okay,
yeah,
go ahead.
I just want to add a small point. So, so generally, a difference between what exactly is cloud native is that cloud native is just a way of how you deploy your application to cloud. It's like you have different sort of ways, right? And I think once you have made any project and you feel like now it's time to scale this project, you will eventually be using the cloud native technology such as containers, and then maybe once you have deployed that into a container by writing a Docker file, something like that, then it will be time to orchestrate or scale up those containers. Then we'll be using another CNCF project called as Kubernetes. um, I think once you're done with Kubernetes, then we'll be try to see if I can customize my Kubernetes configuration files. Then we'll be using some other CNCF project called as Helm, right? So I think, to be very honest, I feel like start with a project. Do not aim that you need to have a cloud native technology involved into it. Start with a very basic project, and I think as per your needs grow, you will automatically realize that uh, cloud native technologies is something that will eventually help to scale your project up to the mark. So yeah.
Yeah, I have something to add here. I think for the same question, we could think in two aspects. One thing, looking at the need. So, based on the needs, we could go about things as Nitish said. Second aspect, how I would say is, it depends on our learning. What is our motive to do the project? Is it to really bring in users, or is it for my own learning? If it is for my own learning, I would prefer to go with doing things that are technically challenging, because hence there I would be learning better. So maybe then I would go with cloud native technologies from day one of building my project. So that's the two ways I would deal with it. Yep. Could go with the next question. How much time it takes to learn Go to a certain level so that we can contribute to CNCF projects?
I think Faika or Kunal, anyone wants to go ahead with this. This is a quite interesting question as well.
Yeah, Faika, would you want to take this first, and maybe I can add my points as well.
Yeah. So how much time it takes to go through a certain level so that we can contribute to CNCF projects? Um, this is like a journey. All of us started as a student, like all of the people here on the panel. And talking for myself, how much time it takes to contribute to CMCF projects from the day, since day one, we could just start contributing. Now it depends on what type of contribution are you talking about. Is it technical contribution or is it non-technical contribution? So with perspective taking non-technical contribution, day one, just get started. There are every single open source project in Cloud Native Computing Foundation open source, which is open sourced, have this segregation inside their project where they divide their project into several groups. So some groups which will handle the microservices feature, or some groups which will handle the testing for the project, some groups that will handle the let's say deployment for the projects, anything. And there are also some groups that handles the community for the project. So I really personally think that community is the easiest way for any one of us to just pick up, because that does not require you to have a lot of technical abilities, but just communication, just enthusiasm. That's all that it requires. So you can just from day one, if you have encouragement, if you have that enthusiasm, you have a lot of skills already. So with that terms, you can start contributing, become a part of it, and pick up issues. So all of these open source projects maintain their own GitHub board. You can just go there, you can see what are the areas which needs contribution, and you can just start contributing non-technically. So with that respect, it takes no day. But when it comes to technical contribution, that will take time. So open source projects have been building from since years and years, like Kubernetes. It was 10th anniversary for Kubernetes, 10th birthday, to call out. So it was 10 years, it took 10 years to build that project. Now you as a student are coming up with no industry level experience or stuff, so it will definitely be overwhelming for you. And hence you don't have to start contributing in the technical aspects from day one, but you have to start digging in the code base, you have to start reading the readmes available, and you have to start making connections in the project so that you know your way. Don't just stay don't just keep exploring yourself, but involve the community with you. So ask your mentors, whoever you can communicate with in the project. And with that perspective, I think it shouldn't take longer than 3 months if you are dedicated and consistent to understand at least some aspects of the project and contribute to it technically. And obviously there are always maintainers and mentors there to help you, guide you, and everything. So you're never alone in open source. It's not like a boss giving you tasks, do it and come back to me. No, it's completely a collaborative process where everyone is there to help you out. That would be my answer. Like, start it right away if you want to start contributing to open source.
Kunal, you wanted to mention something, right?
Great, thank
I
you for the
think,
answer. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry to cut. I think that Faika covered everything, and she covered it really well. But yeah, I think we have. I think it totally depends. How much time does it take? Consistency is something that you have to make sure you are consistent. You just choose one thing, as I mentioned when I was explaining the CNCF landscape. Just try to choose. Okay, at first try to filter out 3 projects, right? And I see one more question here which is very similar to this, the point that I'm mentioning right now, which is, what should be prioritized? Is it the technology or the tool I'm comfortable with, or is it the project that I feel interested to work with? I think go with the second, interested to work with. Because if the project interests you, if the community that is building the project, the work interests you, you will be interested to get more and more involved, right? And that's the first step. And if you're interested in doing something, you won't have any problem doing it consistently. And when you'll do it consistently, as Faika mentioned, it's no big problem for you to get involved in any project. And you'll see yourself going from level 1 to level 10, level 100, and you'll reach new heights. So pick a project that feels interesting to you. Pick a project that you can do it like this. You can filter out 3 projects that feels interesting to you. Just try to get involved, and then you can, out of the 3, filter out just one and get fully involved in that. Like for me, I got involved in 3 projects. I got involved in Kubernetes, I got involved in layer 5, and I also got involved in one more project. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name right now. But at the end, I got fully involved in the Kubernetes community, because that is where uh, I was interested, and that is where my sort of I love the environment there, basically. So yeah, you just have to go it that way. Choose a project which interests you and which sounds interesting to you, and that's how you can build that consistency. I think we are running out of time, so maybe we can take one last question. Nitish is
I
asking. Yeah, Nitish.
Yeah, I just wanted to. Okay, this is asking.
Mhm.
Yeah, I just wanted to have this one add a small point
Yeah.
to here. So I think it's only going to take you 1 month to understand, go to a certain level. Just make sure that you do not stuck in the tutorial hell and do not try to master Go programming language. The only thing that you need to do is get yourself good with your basics, learn about the conditions, concurrency. That is going to take you 1 month. And second important thing, that learn about how to debug the code base of the project. If you do these two things, you can eventually get started within 15 days and have your PR raised. So yeah, that's what I wanted to mention. And yeah, this was another question. Oh, sorry, Kubernetes is over. Sorry for that.
Yeah, we all agree with that. So you're not alone.
Which was
I think the
question? I
question
think
was this. Yeah.
yeah,
Nitish is looking to get certified in CKA. Nitish, are you looking to get certified in CKA?
yeah. I am.
And he's saying how to get max discount. I don't know about Max, but I think Lift scholarship is something, Linux Foundation scholarship. I'm not sure what's the full term. That is something that opens its applications per year. Again, I'm not sure about that. Maybe you can go on the website and share the link below. But that's how you can just apply, and in there they basically provide you, if you get selected, if you get shortlisted, they provide you with free certifications. They provide you with the vouchers, and that's how you can get your certifications for free if you want to get certified under the Linux Foundation, any certification that you want to do. So that's how you get the max discount, which is 100%. uh, I know only this way. If anyone here is aware of any other way you can get discounts, you can let us know. But I think this is the
So
only way you can get 100% discount, in my opinion.
yeah, I would add that you can reach out to a couple of, like, if you have really done your work and you have some community outreach and you have done work, so you can reach out to CNCF ambassador that you know and you're connected with and ask them, probably they can help you somehow to get some discounts on these examinations. And apart from that, whenever KubeCons is like coming, any KubeCon is nearby, there are mails going out for discounts coming up with KubeCons. Like, if I'm not sure, I think last KubeCon there was a 40% discount which came near the event. So that is something that could be leveraged. 40% is a
Also,
lot.
we have, yes. Sorry for interrupting. Also, we have the Black Friday sales that generally goes around, so you can obviously, you know, buy a course. Other thing, that's a very far thing, but if you have done really good contribution, maybe someone can sponsor your certification. It can be
Yeah,
one of the
that's
ways.
a good point, because my very first certification was actually, I got the voucher from someone. I was studying
Yeah.
Terraform and I got the voucher from Brad McCoy. Shout out to him. Don't reach out to him like that. Don't reach out to anyone like that. You first have to start preparing. You first have to show that you are interested in that certification, and then maybe you can reach out to folks in your network if they can offer you a voucher. Just be kind, right? CNCF is all about being kind. So if you're kind to everyone, they'll be kind to you. I think that's the lesson to learn from here. Varsha, over to you.
Yeah, but I think you can also subscribe to CNCF newsletters, so you will get a notification when there are discounts running on your mail itself. So maybe you could do that as well. Okay, so this is probably our last question. Best resources to learn Golang. I think Nitish would be the best person to answer this.
I seriously do not think there are such best resources, to be honest. Um, but I really think that whatever, just go through the online tutorials, and yeah, just go through the online tutorials and find something that, okay, you feel like something is really interesting, but do not get very much deep dive into it, because if your goal is to contribute to a certain project, just get your basics clear, concurrency concepts clear. And I think over the period of time, when you'll watch some more talks around Go or any such programming languages, you will dig deep dive into certain things, and you will eventually learn more about a certain programming language or a concept. So go with any resource you find, and you will be good to go.
Yeah, to add
One
on
thing
that,
I
okay. Yeah, go on.
okay.
Yash, I'll take it after you.
One thing I'd like to add, like you can try reading some books. Maybe I have read like Let's Go Further and Let's Go book and Go in Action. They are pretty much good resources. So yeah, cool. You can
Yep.
go.
So I was just mentioning a shameless plugin. Follow me on Twitter. I post a lot of Go language resources. And secondly, like Nitish mentioned, with time you can just keep exploring the project, read the project's code base. The more you read the code, the more you actually learn, and the more you build projects as well. And secondly, listen to talks. So GopherCon is one of the places where a lot of Go language based talks happen. So listen to those talks. You will learn a lot of new things from the whole language perspective. That would be it.
Yeah, so I've shared the link of one of the books by O'Reilly. By the way, O'Reilly is a really nice website. If you are into book reading and if you love reading books, which Yash mentioned, I think that's a good idea as well. You can check out this particular book. It's really good if you want to get started. And if anyone here has any other book recommendations, we can also drop links afterwards to the stream as well in the description, so you can check it out. But yeah, over to you, Varsha.
Yep, I think this was a very insightful session. I hope the viewers had a lot of takeaways from all of our panelists here and interesting questions as well. So I hope the questions are also answered. So wrapping up our first CNCF event, just for all of the viewers, we will have a lot of such events coming up in the future, webinars, Twitter Spaces, a lot of them. So make sure to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube, of course. I'm sure, please check out these resources, they're very valuable. Um, yeah, that's about today. Thank you for joining.
Cool. It was fun. See you in the next live stream. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye
Bye,
bye.
See
Bye
you.
everyone.
everyone. Good night.